Come in, friends. The door is open. Won't you sit down? No, not there. Sit by the fire. Let the bristling flames warm you. It is chilly in here, as if the cold air of death were in the room. The door is closed. The demons are ready. Clutch your chair. You are trapped in the Chamber of Chills.
All the stories we tell are true. We believe in ghosts. Do you?
Chamber of Chills presents The Snow Beasts. Brought to you by Van Gorder. The butler closed the door of the reading room of the Explorers Club. Inside, 10 world-famous travelers settled deeper in their chairs. The shadows of twilight cautiously crept through the huge swinging windows. Well, Johnson, go ahead. We're all here. Marlon Johnson, the man who had explored the whole of Africa and Tibet, crushed out his cigarette and wet his lips.
Gentlemen, take a firm grip on your chairs. What I am about to tell you will challenge your imagination and probably force you to call me insane. But this story is true. It's true. True!
Johnson, easy. You know you've been under a terrific strain, but you must try to control yourself. The almost hysterical explorer brushed the ring of perspiration from his forehead. Trembling, he lit a cigarette.
Of course. Gentlemen, I'm sorry. I'll be all right. It all happened a year ago, this month. I had just returned from a safari into Africa. We had brought back some wonderful animal specimens, and our spirits were running high. Mine were probably running very high. A short while later, I was contacted by a Mr. Crowley. He was known for his work on photography and wanted me to accompany him into the wilds of Tibet. It seems he had heard of a lost race of people who lived in the storm-swept mountains of that country. This race was supposedly to have been driven to the mountains of Genghis Khan's soldiers and isolated there. Then, because of the geographical conditions, their bodies changed to adapt themselves to extreme cold and driving snows. So it is seemed that the natives of Tibet had claimed to have seen hairy giants in the passes of the mountains. One man claimed that his hair or fur was red and extremely long. Others said these creatures looked like bears standing upright. At any rate, I was convinced that the expedition would be exciting enough to warrant my going with it.
By now, Johnson had again reached a very highly nervous state. Though his voice seemed steady, his hands were trembling and fumbling with the sides of his chair. Once more, the gathered men calmed him down. A hurried drink of brandy allowed him to continue.
We made all the necessary arrangements, and 3 weeks after Crowley had contacted me, we were on our way to Tibet. I will not burden you with all the details of the trip. I will instead bring you to the point where we met the monsters.
Met the monsters? You mean they actually do exist? Come on, old boy. We've been around a bit ourselves.
Stop. We did meet the monsters of the snow.
These last words of Johnson jolted the others into a tense silence. The room seemed to freeze with tension.
We met them one savage afternoon. The elements had apparently waited for that time to unleash their power. Well, as we struggled up a slope, our lead guide
gave a sudden start and ran back down to us. All he could do was point. When we saw what he was pointing at, our sanity began to tear apart. Standing there before us, framed in the swirling torrents of snow, was a snow monster. Johnson stopped his narrative and glared at the men about him. Their faces, intent enough, registered obvious doubt. "Do you mean to tell us that you actually saw the beast, or whatever it was? You realize, Johnson, that what you are saying is in effect that such a race of people does exist?" "But I did. Whatever this thing was, it had long red hair and teeth, like a wolf's. It stood there grinning at us, and then it attacked. With a savage growl, it hurled itself upon us, and we had to meet it hand to hand. We fought wildly in the snow for what seemed hours. All 3 of our guides and Crowley were killed, and I must have collapsed and appeared dead to it, for it left me in the snow. It must have been some time after that the search party found me. But tell us, Johnson, what proof have you that this race exists? Or that this monster you met exists? Have you no pictures?" Johnson rose. "No, gentlemen, I have no pictures, but neither do I have a right arm." Johnson faced sideways to the others and exposed the stump of what had been his right arm. It had been horribly torn off at the shoulder.